All right, so we got moon pie as a special today.
I know. I usually always go to the special, but I just don't have a moon pie guy.
Yeah.
So.
You want to do a sample?
No, I know what I want.
Okay.
Beach Madness.
Oh.
What size is going to be the bottom?
Mini. I've ordered the small so many times it's way too big.
Do you want it as a sundae with the toppings on top or mixed in?
Mixed in, please.
I got the last week when we came here.
Oh yeah, it throws you off.
I was full the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I am just gonna do a 1 scoop of this. Welcome into The Scoop. On today's episode, we're pleased to be joined by Jaguars tackle Walker Little, a Wits fanatic.
Yes.
A Wits fanatic. So what's the scoop today, Walker?
I went with the Beach Madness today. I'm usually stay steady with the flavors of the day, but I don't know, moon pie wasn't calling my name today.
Moon pie. Well, I went with the moon pie, so I'm excited to, so first and foremost, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm very excited because I've never, if you can believe this, had the moon pie. I'm big cinnamon bun gal, red velvet cake.
So good.
Those are like my go-tos. And you said to me, like you were trying to describe to your family, Wits.
Oh yeah.
Why is this your spot when you come
Well,
for
I
ice
think
cream?
custard in general is just already better. Consistency is a little better, thicker, doesn't melt quite as quickly. And then, they do a great job of the mix-ins. I love the flavor of the day. It makes it easier to switch it up. So, love it.
And you, by the way, I am also told, are the ice cream aficionado on the Jaguars roster because you actually have an ice cream machine at your house.
I do, yeah. I have a Ninja Creamy. Ooh. So I've been trying to make ice cream. I have not perfected that yet. Okay. I've been trying though.
Okay. Well, one thing that I know you have, pretty down pat is the sport of football. So before we go any further, I prefaced this before we got going. Special video for you. A video that you posted. We're going to refresh it here. Yeah. But when you were first drafted by the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah. Little me.
So that's you.
Yeah.
Your kindergarten graduation.
Yep.
And you said that you wanted to be a football player.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. I was kindergarten graduation. All the kids got up and kind of said, what do they want to be when they grow up? And most of them were veterinarians or doctors or there was maybe a lawyer one there. But I wanted to be a football player. And then it kind of came through. It really was cool. My mom had that video. And so, right after that, I kind of felt like I had to kind of post that because I thought it was pretty cool.
Your dad played college baseball. Mm-hmm. You played track, basketball, right?
Yeah, track and basketball in high school and then football in the fall, obviously. Why
was it football, though? Why was it you always wanted to be a football player?
Yeah, growing up in Texas, I think that's a big part of the society there is football. Especially high school football, it's just such a big deal. I don't know, it was football family, and we grew up watching it. Obviously, at Thanksgiving, Christmas time, watching football, and just I was just kind of always good at it. So, that's usually what makes a kid go one way or the other is what they're good at. And I was good at football, and just kind of learned to love it as I went along too. And through the years, just kind of began to love it more as things have kind of got more complicated. It makes the game harder. But at the same time, it makes it a lot more achieving when you are doing well.
Now, I didn't realize how deep the Little roots go when it comes to Texas. Mm-hmm. So you're, fifth generation?
I think so, yeah. I would have to double check that with the parents. They're a lot better with the history of the Littles. But, yeah, they've been there for a while.
What does that mean to you when I say native Texan?
Yeah, I'm pretty prideful about being from the state of Texas. I think most Texans are. I think that's just part of it. But yeah, I love the state. I try to get back there as much as I can. I view Florida as my second home for sure, and I think there's a lot of similarities between the states. A lot more beaches here, obviously, but Texas is home and always will be, and I love it.
Now, what I found most interesting, because we are going to get into, you didn't go to Texas for college. Yeah. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
But this is probably the most crazy thing about you that I had no idea. Mm-hmm. You are 1/4 Jamaican.
Oh yeah, that is
How
that's
does
a fun
that
fact. That was always growing up when it was like, two truths and one like lie or whatever.
Yeah.
That was always how I got people, was telling them, I'm a fourth Jamaican and no way. Yeah, my grandma and then, her parents and her parents' parents. I think it's 4 generations there from Jamaica. And they came over during the potato famine in Ireland. And
so they went from Ireland to Jamaica.
From Ireland to Jamaica. Yeah,
Okay.
They were coffee bean farmers in the hills of Jamaica. And so, my grandma was from there. My grandfather was in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he went there to build they were building a naval base and met my grandma. And I think it was within like 5 months they got married.
And then they just stayed in Jamaica.
Yeah, they stayed there for a little bit. They went back to North Carolina where my grandfather was from. They had my mom. They went back to Jamaica for another 4 or 5 years, and then they kind of moved all throughout the South because he was in the military and was a military contractor. So he was kind of going all around, really the world. They were in Venezuela for a little while there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
my mom moved all over. She had a different upbringing for sure.
Yeah, that's insane. Now, with Jamaica, you used to go back every summer. So was that like growing up in Texas? That was your beach?
Yeah, I mean that was a lot of what we went to. We went kind of 2 places, and we kind of went back and forth, I would say. As we got older, we went to Jamaica a lot more because it was a lot easier to travel international once we were older, not little kids. And so, we went there, I don't know, I've probably been 6, 7, 8 times now. And it's always cool and going over there. And it's a great country. People are really nice. And it's always fun to kind of tell them and get their reactions that we're Jamaican, and they laugh. And I got to kind of explain, I'm not actually born here, but Grandma was. So.
I was going to say, are you the tallest person in Jamaica?
I'll be honest, I probably am, but there's a lot of tall Jamaicans. I mean, Usain Bolt obviously is a tall man,
That's true.
And there's some other guys. They have great athletes, and there's some tall dudes, and really even some big dudes. I've seen some really buff Jamaicans out there.
You're training beachside, I hear too. Are you finding these buff dudes that you're training on the beach with? Or?
No, honestly, all the buff dudes I've seen have always been bartenders, so it's always intimidating. They're shaking drinks, but. I trained at the beach there a few times just because usually when we would go, it was kind of right before I would have to go back for a college training camp, and I'd always get so fearful of getting out of shape there. So, it was fun.
I feel that. As I'm spilling my ice cream everywhere, I'm totally in shape. Now, Walker, would you say, are you your dad's dude, or are you a mama's boy?
Mama's boy, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
Always was. I think one, Dad worked a lot growing up, so like when I was little, I had a lot. He certainly always came to my games and stuff, but when I was little, I spent so much time with my mom. And then I think being the youngest, my brother and sister are like 2 years apart, and then I'm 5 years younger from my oldest brother. And so they always were messing with me, and she was always kind of like my little safety net to protect me as a little kid and get them to stop bullying me. So I think I'm definitely a mama's boy.
I didn't realize it was 5-year gap.
Yeah, my oldest brother's 5 years older than me. My sister's like 3 years older than me, but she was young for her grade, so she was 4 grades above me, but 3 years.
So you guys were never in high school? At the same time,
no.
College. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, this one I do have to break out the notes for. Mm-hmm. In doing my research, this is a quote from your dad.
Mm-hmm.
He hates losing to the point that it gets him emotional. He can't stand it.
Yeah.
Has that always been the case?
Oh yeah. When I was a little kid, I was always the kid that probably everyone's annoyed with. And they'd strike out, they'd come crying back to the dugout. It ate me up. I hated it a lot, and obviously I learned pretty quickly to stop crying when my dad would come to the dugout and just yell at me. Not yell, but ask me nicely to stop crying. So it was embarrassing him, embarrassing me too. But I think I've always hated losing a lot more than I've liked winning. It eats at me, and I think that's true for a lot of guys on our team too. So it makes it interesting when we are playing ping pong or golf or anything. It really it gets real competitive in there, and rivalries form pretty quickly.
But the crazy part for you growing up, I mean, you were the #1 recruit in the country, according to some recruiting rankings. You're at a smaller school.
Yep.
You're pretty much the best at everything. So what's a moment where maybe you did face adversity early on in either elementary, middle, or high school?
I would say, in high school, honestly, I don't think I really faced a ton of adversity until I got to college.
Yeah.
High school was somewhat smooth sailing because I was such a big kid. It was, I'm not going to say easy. There was always like hard points, but you're 6'7" and 300 pounds in high school, you're going to be good. So it really wasn't until I got to college that I started having to be like, all right, like this isn't just going to be smooth sailing all the time. You're going to lose, and that was really where I feel like I learned a lot more about what it takes to like really grind and work hard, and everything's not just going to be like given to you. Where in high school, I mean, I worked hard. I feel like I always have, but it came in an easier fashion.
What's your favorite memory from high school, and you cannot pick the state championship?
Yeah. I would say there was definitely a few games. We had two rival. I mean, I went to private school, so it was Kincaid, and we beat them a few times, like handedly, which were also really fun. That was a team where you had a lot of good friends on the other side, so that was fun. And St. Thomas was another private school in town, and we had some big kind of inner city duels with them, so that was always really fun. And we had lost, I think, my first 2 years. My junior year, we won. It was a really epic game, and so that was a lot of fun.
How about non-football? What do you remember most when you think about high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think more so just like the day-to-day of hanging out with friends. And high school was so fun for me because I had a really tight-knit friend group, and we just being able to hang out every day. You're forced to kind of see your friends, obviously, every day. So that was really fun. And then, like little things, like we tried to do a senior prank that got shut down real quickly. We tried to like wrap the school with toilet paper.
Like the whole school?
Yeah. Oh, well, our plan was like our courtyard, and I mean, we barely got like 20 feet into the grounds before like a security guard pulled us, and they called the cops, and the cops came, and we had explained that the trash bags in the trunk weren't filled with like paraphernalia, but just toilet paper. So
is the statute of limitations up, or are we allowed to be discussing this?
Yeah, I hope so. But that was fun. That was a fun phone call for the mom telling me that the police had gotten me a few months before I was going to Stanford. So that was exciting.
It's funny you bring up your tight-knit friend group, because that's who came for the players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those are still your guys.
Yeah, no, I'm very close with my friends from home, and it's become a fun thing too for me. Just obviously I've become so close with a lot of guys in the team, and so it's been really fun just to kind of have a lot of my friends come out here, stay with me, and then meet my friends in the team, and really see how those interactions goes. We have a good time. Everyone gets along, and it's been really fun.
And then when you played in the All-American game, and I think this is really telling to just like how tight-knit your group was. You had 50 kids come to the All-American high school game from your high school.
Yeah. That was really cool. I mean, obviously it made it a little easier that the All-American game was in San Antonio and I was in Houston, but I mean, they still made that 3.5 hour track, and that was really a special memory for me.
Yeah. So let's talk about your college recruitment, because like you said, you're a native Texan.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty easy to, number one, go to Texas.
Yep.
Number two, your dad went to Tech, right? Yep. And then did you have an uncle who went to A&M?
Yep. And then my grandfather went to Rice, so we kind of went all across the schools.
And you went complete opposite.
Yep.
They zigged, you zagged.
Yep.
Why?
I mean, I just think it was at the time it was very much a decision just based off kind of where the programs were at that time. When I come out, I really got close to Charlie Strong, which was kind of funny, full circle, and he was on our staff my rookie year. But yeah, Charlie Strong was the head coach. He had just gotten fired. Tom Herman had just gotten hired, and I liked Texas. I really had always envisioned myself going there, but there was just a lot of turmoil there, a lot of obviously changing of the coaches. I didn't really get to know him a whole lot before I made my decision, whereas Stanford was kind of on the other side of things. I mean, they were so stable. They just come off a Rose Bowl victory.
Over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yeah, let's make sure we get that one on the record.
Christian McCaffrey and Solomon Thomas had just gone like top 10 in the NFL draft. So, looking back, I'm sure people want to be like, oh, why didn't you? But if you would have been in my shoes at that time, it seemed like a pretty clear-cut decision. I definitely don't regret it. I made wonderful friends at Stanford, had awesome memories, and I feel like I got the best of both worlds in terms of just kind of a world-class education experiences. I don't think I could have got elsewhere. As well as top-notch football that eventually led me to get drafted.
So I got another quote. This one's from your high school coach. He wanted no promises. He's competitive and he wants to go get it. That's in regards to, there were some other schools that told you could have gone there and you start day one.
Yeah.
Texas and Stanford said no.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work for it. So two points to that. So we start with Stanford over the field.
Yeah.
Why?
I just think that in terms of just like the decision to go there, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so you knew you would have to work for the starting spot there.
Yeah,
I think you choose that.
Yeah, I think that again, I just felt like coaches that were kind of telling me I wasn't going to have to were just trying to be nice. And I wanted someone who was going to be straight up with me. And so I appreciated that. At the time, it was Mike Bloomgren, who's my offensive line coach. He's the head coach at Rice now. He was just straightforward and was like, you're not just going to show up and be a starter. Like, I don't care if you're a 5-star. I don't care if you're a top recruit. Like, you're going to have to come here and work. And as odd as that sounded, it kind of appealed to me that I was just going to be another one of the guys coming in and wasn't going to get handed things, and knew that when I did end up being able to start, somewhat early on, it was because I earned it, and that wasn't just getting handed to me.
Right. So I know we don't do a lot of Jags talk here, but I do want to bring it to Jacksonville because how much has that experience of you knew you were going to Stanford, you were going to have to earn it.
Yeah.
But you then go on to become the first starting tackle since 2000 at Stanford, so not too shabby. How much did you rely on that experience and go back to that when it came to Jacksonville when you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot. I think Stanford, more than anything, just preached obviously hard work, and then just kind of sticking to the plan, sticking to the course. When times get hard, kind of fall back on that plan, which is just hard work and consistent work. And so obviously, my time with the Jags has been an interesting time of kind of going back and forth between being swing tackles, getting some time to start here and there. And so it's always just been for me just focusing on, what aren't you good at? What, maybe why did you get beat this play or that play? Figuring it out and then just getting back to work. And I think that's such a big part of the NFL is just you're going against the best of the best. You're going to get beat. And so if you can kind of have the mindset just getting back to work and sticking to your plan and just staying consistent with it, I really believe you'll have more success than you won't.
Do you view that, like when you go into Stanford or when you got here to the Jags, do you view it as a competition, knowing how competitive you are?
Yeah, I mean, it's always competition. We talk about it here and we talked about it back in college. I mean, every day is a competition. We always talk about the eye in the sky won't lie, or the tape doesn't lie. You're always, everything we do is filmed, everything we do is going to get critiqued, and you want to be as perfect as you can. And so you want to strive for perfection. Obviously, you'll never reach it, but the constant pursuit of it is just kind of what makes the journey.
So Stanford, it's a pretty big name.
Mm-hmm.
What's the coolest part? What was the coolest part about your Stanford experience?
Yeah, I mean, I just think kind of twofold, both from the football side of things, just being combined with a group of guys that were so like-minded, just kind of guys that valued obviously school and had a wide interests of things, but as well were just so competitive for football and wanted to be great. And I felt we really, formed a tight bond with each other there. I don't know if that happens everywhere. And then overall, I mean, just the opportunity to go to school with some of the brightest minds in the world, not only from your other students, but just your teachers and professors. It was just felt like such a special opportunity that every single day I was with, some of the leaders of industries and, the minds that kind of push the world forward. And so that was, unforgettable experiences, just talking with classmates and talking with professors.
Is it true? Because I know you finished as a comms major.
Mm-hmm.
Did you really go in bio?
Yeah, I went in wanting to be a doctor. I went all over the place. I went in being a doctor. I went a few other places. At one point, I was like, all right, I'm going to be an econ major. And then I had to go through the math series. And that was, during the fall, mid-football season. And I was like, this isn't for me. And so I ended up in comms. It was very interesting and definitely I felt like I had a lot of guys on the team that were doing it as well. And we kind of all went into it together.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, I saw you went in his bio. Mm-hmm. My mom's a dentist. Yeah. And I was like, she looks at me and she's like, you got a degree in fun with what you do. And I'm like, because I didn't want to actually have to go to class.
Yeah, like exactly.
That. So you mentioned some of the best minds, greatest minds in the world. You do have the Masters shirt on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you have a good Tiger Woods story for us?
We met him once. We played down at UCF my junior year, and he came down for that game because he lives fairly close. That was pretty cool. He came in at halftime, or pregame actually, and gave an incredible pregame speech. He had just come off the 2019 Masters, in which he had won, and his crazy comeback to greatness. And walks in, had a little backpack on, glasses, and a Nike cap. Gave us a story about working your whole life for something, and kind of ended it with I worked my whole life for this. And we're like, what? And puts the backpack down, unzips it, and pulls out his green jacket. And we were like, oh my God. obviously me being a huge golf fan, I mean, I just lost it. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, there was a ton of kids that didn't even know what it was. And I was just lost my mind. He actually gave it to Coach Shaw and let Coach Shaw put it on. And it was really an amazing moment, really special.
That's wild. Have you always been a golf fan?
Yeah.
Or was that a college thing?
No, I grew up near a golf course when I was little. And so there's pictures that me and my mom has where I'm tiny, trying to hold up a putter with my dad.
Yeah.
I lost it a bit in high school, just getting busy doing other sports. But then when I got to college, Stanford had such a great public student golf course. I mean, it was like $15 for us to play, and it was outstanding. And so I got back into it strong there. Then obviously Jacksonville's such a golfing town that it's really cranked it up for me.
I was going to say, that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it
for
really
you.
did.
Yeah. I want to ask about you hustling some people for money potentially on the team.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Those not. So,
Yeah.
But let's talk a little about your on the field at Stanford, because you walk in and it's a competition, but then you do, like I said, you become the first true freshman to start on the line at tackle since 2000.
Yeah.
You get Pac-12 Rookie of the Year, Freshman of the Year.
Yeah.
Your sophomore year, your first team, all Pac-12. I mean, every recruiting site, not recruiting, like NFL draft site, they've all got you as like, this is the next big tackle. What was it like in the moment, being a part of that?
Yeah. Again, I feel like I never really focused on anything the NFL stuff was saying until it was really time for me to come out, because I just knew how much it didn't really matter. You see all these, way too early picks, and then it gets to the actual draft and it's nothing like it. So I always just try to focus on being good. They did a really good job at Stanford of just making us set goals. And I just remember always being very focused on goals that were in front of me and in my control. So it wasn't about being a certain draft pick or a certain round, but it's just about being the best offensive lineman in the Pac-12, the best offensive lineman in the country, and a leader on my team. And so I felt like if I did those things, that anything else with the NFL would follow, and I tried to do that. And so I felt like Stanford really kind of ingrained that kind of mindset into us, though.
What's crazy, though, is all that is in 2017, 2018, which is like crazy to say. That's 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, forever ago.
So 2019, third game of the season, Northwestern. What happened?
It's first game of the season.
It was first game?
Yeah, first game of the season.
With all this hype surrounding
I know. I had a great offseason, came in, fired up. Felt like I played a really good game, and it was probably, I think it was 4 minutes left. We were in 4-minute mode, running the ball, just trying to close out the game, and we ran duo to the left, and no solid across my face. My knee just kind of stayed in place, and I dislocated my kneecap. And initially I didn't know what happened, but I knew someone was wrong. Immediately kind of started waving for the trainers to come check it out. And they told me, like, hey, your kneecap's hanging on the side of your leg. I was like, okay. And then they explained they were going to pop it back in place real quick. So grabbed the trainer's hands, popped it back in. I didn't feel great, but I was able to kind of walk off and didn't really know what the future kind of held at that point. It was just a whirlwind of emotions. Then, probably a week or two later, we decided that, surgery was going to have to be the best route. And so I missed that whole season. But, obviously kind of COVID, and that happened the next year. Pac-12. I'd gone back for summer training. I don't know, probably 3 weeks into it. The Pac-12 decided that they were going to cancel our season. And I had to have a lot of discussions with coaches and teammates just about what was next. And they decided to opt out of that season. Kind of talked to Coach Shaw. And at that point, the thought really was like the Pac-12's not going to play football. Just especially with kind of the politics of those states at the time. It didn't look good. So I opted out, and then that was it. Obviously, the Pac-12 was able to play, which that stunk for me, seeing my teammates play, and I wasn't out there with them. But, it all worked out, and I was able to end up with a great team and a great organization.
Were there moments during the rehab and then during that COVID year where you thought maybe that dream of that little kindergartner, it wasn't going to actually happen?
Yeah, I would say I always had faith that I was going to be able to play. I just didn't know. I was super uncertain just about kind of what the journey was going to look like at that point. And a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety, I would say, during those years. But luckily I really had a lot of great people behind me. I had support of my parents and family, obviously, but support of Stanford. And then, my agent was great during that time too, just kind of putting me in great places to train and work hard and stay competitive. And so it all worked out, but definitely at the time I didn't know which way it was going to go for me.
Because it's like you're number one, you're on top of the world,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it just snaps.
Yeah, I got dropped out a little bit, but I felt like I learned a ton of lessons through that time just about how fragile the game is and how quickly it can kind of get taken away from you. And that's definitely led to, I feel like, me enjoying it even more so now.
So you brought up Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to ask, what sort of contact did you have with him and Urban in the pre-draft process? Because you almost went to play for him, and I'm assuming Urban recruited you too.
Yeah. So I would say I didn't have a whole lot of contact with Urban Meyer when I was getting recruited.
Yeah.
That was more so just like their offensive line coaches and stuff.
He didn't make the trip to Houston?
No, at least not for me. He kept making it for other people. But Charlie Strong, I was incredibly close with throughout that whole recruiting process. I mean, he was the first person to ever offer me. So I was a sophomore in high school, and that was a crazy moment. So I mean, for my sophomore year on, I met him a ton of times, and so I would say during the draft process, I had very little contact with him until maybe the very end. It was mainly with Coach Warhop, who was our offensive line coach at the time, then Urban. I talked to them the most, and so, but it was really special, coming back, having a full circle moment, and having Charlie on the staff that year.
Yeah. What's the best part about living in Jacksonville?
I'd say the golf, because I love it so much, but the beach is also just incredible. Living so close to the beach, and I just think there's a lot of pride in this city, which is really cool. I mean, obviously growing up in Texas, the state of Texas has a lot of pride, but I've never really been in a city that's had so much pride for its city, and it's really cool, really special, and I think the Jaguars are a big part of that, and I think last year, especially at the end of the year, we were able to really see it, so it was really special.
Let's talk a little bit about the golf before we wrap up. I do want to, because I feel like golf has just become so central to like you, your hobbies, and I think it does speak back to that competitive like nature you innately have.
Yeah.
So when it comes to golf, when you're on the tee box, you're in the middle of a skins game or something, versus when you're in the trenches of an offensive line. How would you compare the two?
I would say I wish I could carry over more of like how my mind works in football to the golf course. I've honestly had this conversation a lot of times. Football, everything's happening so fast that you don't have time to think, where golf, it's so stationary and all you have is time to think. And so the hardest part for me is to stop thinking out there and just playing and just swinging and having fun. Whereas football, like I said, it's all happening so fast, it kind of forces your hand. You don't have time to think, it's just reacting. So I would say that's the biggest difference.
So you feel like when you're out there in the middle of an NFL game, you're having to pay attention to 18,000 things. That's easier on the mind than just sitting on the tee box.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we put in so much preparation that like, if you ask me what I was thinking during a certain play, like, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I could go back through like what the thought process should have been, but so much of it's so fast. I mean, you just don't have time. And so many of the decisions you end up making, I mean, it was a split second before Trevor said set hut. So it's just like, like there's not time where golf, you sit there, you're seeing what the wind is, you're seeing what your lie is, what's the distance, like practice swings, oh, that one didn't feel good, oh, let me do another one, okay, that one felt good, and then your grip maybe feels weird. There's all these things that you're stepping up to, and all you have is time to think, like I said, and so it makes it a lot harder versus you see the pros and they have such a good routine, pre-shot routine, which is something that I do not have, and that makes it to where they're not thinking. They just follow their routine and go and hit, and I utilize them, and they know that when they play well, they're not thinking about it. They're just stepping up. They have their measurements and they roll. And that's the same with football. When you get in that kind of flow state and just go, it's when you're playing your best.
What clubs do you play with currently?
PXG now. I just got them this offseason. I got PXG clubs. I have Callaway, Driver, and Woods, and I have a Bedinardi putter.
Ooh,
yeah, it's kind of off-brand, but yeah, it's good.
Did you spend, since I love to ask Logan Cook, his part of his signing bonus he spent on a boat, actually he spent pretty much the whole thing on it. Did you spend part of yours on golf clubs?
Oh yeah, I would say off the bat, no, but I spent a good chunk of change on some golf clubs this off-season, so that was a nice little reward to myself.
PXGs ain't cheap.
Yeah, they're not.
Favorite course to play on?
Yeah.
What's your favorite tournament you've attended?
Yeah, I mean, I would say tournament's easy. I thought the Players was outstanding and super fun. I've gone to like the one at Austin Country Club the last few years, the Dell Match Play. That's super fun, but I just think the Players just has the feel of a major, so it's just so fun, and obviously the city rallies around it so much as well. And then favorite course, I would say I'm between. I play at Ponte Vedra a good amount. I love that course, and then Dyes Valley, the little side course to the stadium course.
Interesting.
It's a great track.
The lengths on that one. I mean, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Those par fives are absurd.
Yeah. No, that's the. If you ever have to tee off on the back nine at Dyes, it's a tough day. It humbles you very quickly, but it's a fun course, and I just think it's very well kept. Obviously, just because it's a TPC course, and so it's fun.
Let's wrap with this, Walker. When I take you back to that little kid on the kindergarten stage, what are you most proud of since that moment to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, when I was a little kid, you used to kind of think that, I'm just going to keep playing football and I'll be in the NFL and it's going to be all like roses. And I feel like my journey's had a lot of up and downs. And just the fact that I've been able to stay the course the whole time and work through it has been really cool and special.
And that's the scoop.
Yeah.
Walker, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.